Hey guys, it's Doom, ready to prank my friend. When he walks around this corner, I'm gonna smash him with my hammer! He did not appreciate the joke. First things first, I gotta make my character. Nothing of much importance here, except I need to make sure that my class starts with enough skill to actually wield my selected weapon. Fortunately, Military Veteran has enough skill and almost enough strength to just use it out of the gate, so that's the only logical choice. Then, while I was looking through the menus, this good doggo decided to show me exactly what I was in for in this run. In the Hunter's Dream, I pick up my weapon, but wouldn't ya know it, there is no Kirkhammer here. The wizard's out on break today, so I have no choice but to do this the old-fashioned way. So I start with the axe, as it is the strength starting weapon, and also I decided because I would only use the Kirkhammer in trick form, I'd do the same for the Hunter's Axe. Fun fact, this weapon was actually the first weapon I ever used in the game way back when. Looks like my skills are just as sharp as the original playthrough too. I do the usual prep stuff of hoovering up materials like bloodstone shards, but I had decided prior to starting this that I wasn't going to try and min-max things like usual. As such, without proper fashion or any levels or upgrades, it's time for the first boss, the Cleric Beast. Damage was really bad, but I mean, I expect that. However, something weird did happen. I would occasionally get double numbers, and I can only assume it's because the boss has multiple hurt boxes. I mean, I assume because of the limb breaking system, they do have different hurt boxes, and the charge swing would hit both of them. Would be awesome if I had literally any levels or upgrades, but hey, I'll take what I can get. And after a couple of uneventful minutes, the Cleric Beast goes down, awarding me 4,000 Blood Echoes and the Sword Hunter Badge. Why is this worth noting? Well, the Sword Hunter Badge is what allows me to buy the Kirkhammer, and combined with the souls I already had, I have enough for it and 2 levels, which is conveniently the exact amount I need to wield it. Coincidence? Yes, completely, but a welcome one. So, about the Kirkhammer, it's definitely a big hammer. I don't have much to say, it's literally just, bonk the weapon. To be honest, I was always a Ludwig's Holy Blade enjoyer and didn't care much for the Kirkhammer. It has a whopping 2 moves, smash and, smash. I'm hopeful I'll have a new appreciation for it by the end of this run, but we'll see. Back in Yharnam, I finally grabbed my first fashion upgrade in the classic Hunter set, then used the shards I found to upgrade the hammer once. After that, I sell a bunch of stuff and get 3 more levels in strength, bringing it up to 19. I make sure to indulge the locals in their desire to see me bowling brought back, then I guess it's time to take on Gascoigne. Good news! The bonk can stun him. That's it, that's about all I got for phase 1. In phase 2, I did find that a charge attack can pancake him, but it's so slow. Like, he had time to send a carrier pigeon to his family that he was about to get hit. So I guess I'll use the remaining time of this fight to properly explain the rules. It's use big hammer and only level strength. That's it. With Liquid Coin defeated, I now have access to the rest of the game. I grabbed the red brooch from the ledge, the Blood Gem Workshop tool from this chest, and talked to Jeff to set up sending NPCs to the chapel. Back in the Hunter's Dream, I get my strength to 21, and now I had a decision to make. Did I want to farm out some echoes, or go to Bloodstar Beast? Honestly, it actually wasn't much of a decision. Since this is a proper weapon, it shouldn't be too hard to take on the beast. Assuming my bones aren't powder. In preparation, I make my Kirkhammer a +3, then talk to Alfred, who ultimately gives me some fire paper, which, unlike the last several runs I've done, can actually be used. Why, thank you, door of convenient segue words. Yes, I do have a special announcement. I have made a game. Well, I call it a game, but I'm not Code Bullet in terms of programming or humor for that matter, but I did. You know what? No, hold on. I want to slow the video down a bit, put the jokes on hold for a moment, that way I can be sincere, transparent, and honest with all of you. I said game, but it's more like, baby's first art project. It's like 15 minutes long, maybe, and was made so I could hold myself accountable to seeing a project through. Anyway, I'm mentioning it because if you would like to support the channel and me directly, it's available on Steam for $3, possibly on sale depending on when you're seeing this. I'll leave a link in the description below. But I do not want this to sound like a YouTuber cash grab, because it's not. I know that's how it looks, right? YouTuber makes something and shows it to audience, but really it's not like that. Please do not feel obligated to buy this at all. I'm not hurting for money or anything. It's just, if you want to support and don't want subscription services like Patreon, then this is a way to do it. And for those of you that are already Patreons and are interested, I am looking into how to get some keys. Bear with me while I try and figure this stuff out. I'm not sure if it's as easy as asking Steam for keys and they just give them or what, but if you are interested and a Patreon, you can message me on Patreon itself, that way I know who to send them to. Anyway, I also have a channel that went over the development. If you want to hear me be stupid about coding and art for an hour, I'll just put it in the card on screen now. But yeah, that was my little announcement. Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. I'm not sure why, but every time I try to make this jump, I always screw it up, like I can't actually clear the gap. And it looks like this time is no different. Anyway, the only things worth noting that I grabbed here are the Beast Blood pellets and some more fire paper. And now it's time to take on the lovely Miss Beast. First attempt went not so great. Second attempt, she wanted to apologize by giving me a hug, but I forgot I have an acute allergic reaction to death. But on the third try, everything fell into place. That being said though, the cracks in my hammer are starting to show. I knew it was slow, but this game really likes its speed, so having this slow weapon just isn't the play. I'm sure that's not going to be an issue later. I go ahead and pump strength up a couple times, then make my way up a tower to grab the Radiant Sword Hunter badge. After that, I watch this ogre discover gravity, then immediately discover a shattered couple of kneecaps myself. I use both discoveries on my way to the old workshop, where I grab the doll's clothes, old hunter bone, a third of an umbilical cord, and a small hair ornament. I immediately sell the clothes so no one thinks they are mine, and then give the doll a present she didn't ask for. You know, typical Reddit behavior. At least she was kind enough to let me touch the darkness within her. No wait, I mean she turned my runes into strength. No, she used my souls to level me up. Wait. Okay, does anyone else get mildly annoyed that it's like the same thing, but they went through and basically Control F'd the word souls and changed it to blood echoes or runes? Sorry, I've fully rambled on about that at this point, so let's get back to the run. I open these shortcut gates around the area and then have horrible anxiety about late game fights after seeing how I'm basically doing fuck all to this brain sucker. To calm my nerves, I speak with Ariana, who agrees to meet me inside the chapel. I also remember to grab the numbing mist this time. Place your bets now if you think I'm going to need it or not. To be honest, I have no idea how much damage I'll be able to do to Amelia, so who knows, maybe she'll heal like 7 times. Either way, that will have to wait. I first want to stop at beautiful Himwick Charnel Lane. Himwick Charnel Lane, where you can see such wonderful sights as Crazy Witch Lady Dancing, war crimes, and graves. Like a lot of graves. I haven't noticed it before, but like every inch of this place is just loaded with headstones. Scenic Himwick Charnel Lane. Book your consultation now. Well, I used the wrong formula, but still got the right answer. The Kirk hammer actually has a triangle gem slot, which, I mean, is fine, I just didn't expect it, and I happen to remember that there is a triangle gem in this chest, though I'm not really sure what the stats are. Fortunately, I have to head back to the dream to cash out my insight anyway, so I can check. It's physical attack up and slow poison? That's interesting, not super useful considering how slow my weapon swings, but I'll take the raw damage. Now it's time for the witches. Wow, such hard, many difficult. From entering the arena until Prey Slaughtered showed up, it was a staggering 1 minute and 20 second long fight. Honestly, it's longer than I would have lasted with 2 witches. I grabbed the Rune Workshop tool, which honestly isn't super helpful this time around, then get some more levels in strength. Ariana then gives me her blood, which is not how I expected our first meetup to go. Guess she wasn't lying when she said she was into some freaky stuff. And finally, I figured it's time for Vicar Amelia. My plan for this one, and basically my plan for every time I fight her, is to try and recreate the Blood level 4 strat where you just cleave her limbs one at a time and finish her off in a few seconds. The good news is it only takes 2 hits to break a limb, so that's easy. The bad news, it doesn't do nearly enough damage or beast meter for it to get her close to being defeated. She does give me a bit of good RNG though, where she tries to back off but is already up against the wall, so, you know, can't, allowing me to lay into her with my big hammerhead. After I hit her from the back hard enough, she lets me land a solid face shot, but she hangs on by a thread, nothing a leaping attack can't fix. What, YouTube? There was nothing wrong with what I said, you can see the footage yourself! Next on my to-do list is to get kicked in the face by Tall, Dark, and Handsome. This gives me access to Beta Yahar Ghul, which has some goodies like Twin Bloodstone Shards. Economists hate this one simple trick as I skyrocket the price of eggs and head for the Forbidden Woods. I make a quick stop to grab the White Church set, which plays a minor role in the story of this video, then dive through the swamp, climb the Shepherd's Note ladder, and enter Yosefka's back door. This time I grab the Communion Rune first, just so I don't have to kick myself for forgetting it later, then grab the Canehurst Summons. So, where's the candy you guys were talking about? Now, of course, I'm in Canehurst to do the usual stuff like getting free money and some Bloodstone chunks, but I also figured, why not take on Grandpa? After all, this is a normal weapon and he's a brittle old man, shouldn't be that hard of an issue, right? I'm gonna make you regret that, old man. I'm not to be messed with. So I talk to Adela because I'm wearing one of the various outfits that she recognizes as church garb and I can tell her to go to the chapel. Why I did this? No idea. Similar to the last run, I literally never spoke to her again. Then it was on to Parl. I'm just the best gamer ever. Parl is easy, it's just walk around him and hit each limb for the stagger. By the time I get back to his head, I have enough beast meter that one full charge heavy finishes him off. This then awards me with the Spark Hunter badge, and lightning paper is going to be pretty useful later on. Now I wanted to do something out of my norm, so I talked to Gilspatches to get the tonsil stone, then head over to the currently inaccessible Yahar'gul entrance. Getting force choked here by Cthulhu's kinky cousin will send me to the lecture building, which in turn allows me to get to the Nightmare Frontier. Now, my main objective was to fight Amy, but I figured I'd get the bloodstone chunks on my way. Or so I thought, but the large scurrying beast decided to test out if instant death pits truly are instant death. They are. There is another one nearby, but it's only Amy. Is she gonna be that tough? Second try doesn't go much better. For some reason I was having trouble baiting her to jump. Oh, fuck you, Amy. Third try I got her to jump, and that was basically GG. I'm not addicted, I can quit her anytime I want. Now in the Hunter's Nightmare, I do all the stuff I normally would, like totally remember to get the eye pendant and of course some bloodstone chunks, but there is a specific reason I'm here. And no, it's not the bosses. If I couldn't beat up Grandpa, I don't want to think about what the Berserk horse could do to me. Instead, I am here for some fashion, the Butcher's set. I've never actually used this set before, but it seemed fitting considering I'm basically using a giant meat tenderizer for a weapon. With that, it's finally time to return to the run, so back in the Forbidden Woods, I make sure to ride the elevator up and open the shortcut door. Sure would be stupid to not do that. Why is that appearing? What do you mean? Behold the power of the hammer. And the power of fire. Yeah, so the first attempt at the shadows didn't go so well, but I did learn that in this run in particular, the pyromancer was going to be an issue. I'm not 100% sure why, but I guess it's just the slower speed of the weapon caused me to not be able to get away from the attacks? Maybe? I don't know. It's mostly fine, it just means that I have to take that one out first. After that, I went for the katana one, which was sometimes annoying with the candle one still alive. But of course, once it's a one-on-one, the fight is basically over. That is an oddly satisfying way to handle these enemies. Nothing really happens in Byrgenwerth. I was going to fight Yudi, but I heard her cast Nuclear Blast from off screen, so nah, straight to Rom. Speaking of, she is a boss. She has a health bar and is a boss. True, she could have been an issue, but clearing out the spiders and making sure not to get hit by her flail, easy victory. I got around to finally selling everything, which got my strength to 50, which I think for now is a nice round number. In Yahar'gul, I do the normal stuff like grabbing chunks and the key, but I do something I haven't done in ages. I go out of my way to fight this handwolf and grab the gem he's protecting. I forgot this was even here, but a kind comment in a previous video told me that it was. I can't find the comment while writing the script, but if I do, it's on screen. If not, thank you, kind stranger, this was actually quite helpful. Kirkhammer is now at +9 and as high as it will be until I get into the nightmare, so it makes sense to just start heading in that direction intentionally, which means the One Reborn. I will admit that is some real body horror, but the actual horrific thing in this game is the cloth collision detection. So the Bell Witches go down in 1 or sometimes 2 hits if I whiff and get the AoE hitbox, but that is promising. The strat for the actual boss is the same as Amelia or Parl. It is to make a big circle around the boss, breaking every limb as I go. Fortunately, it only takes 3 R1s to do that, which also lets me quickly build up my beast to it, and by that I mean after the meter is full in 3 hits, it now only takes 2 hits to smash his many legs. He still had some health after the 4th leg break, but a headshot can also stagger him, then I had more than enough time to deliver the final blow. One of my easier encounters with the One Reborn, honestly. Finally, I have made it to the Nightmare of Mensis. Should be smooth sailing with Mikolash and Murgo coming up. So anyway, Mikolash isn't hard, just walk to his side and hit him. I figured it would stagger if I hit him multiple times, so I went ahead and... On my second try, I learned that it wasn't actually a one-shot, it was just counter damage, which... good, I guess? You know what, Mikolash? I don't like you, so instead of talking about your fight, I'd like to take this time to thank all my wonderful Patreons who help keep the channel alive. No, definitely don't look too closely at the screen and see I accidentally landed on him doing 2 damage. Yep, that didn't happen. Anyway, stay beautiful, y'all. Thanks for keeping the channel and the dream going. I just want to say, for the first time in perhaps ever, I managed to make it to the brain of Mensis without dying to something stupid. What's my reward? I got a rock. I take my Kirkhammer to +10, then quickly stop to grab another part of an umbilical cord. And on my way to grab the one from Yosefka, I just want to clear something up. In a previous video, I mentioned how it was stupid that there were 4 chords and they say 1/3. A lot of you thought I couldn't do basic math, and that might be true sometimes, but it wasn't my intention. What I meant was that there are, we assume, 3 1/3s to the same chord and then 1 1/3 of another. But that would loosely imply that we can find 2 more of these chords to complete the set. But we can't. They don't exist in-game. So I was actually being more critical of the game design and not the actual math. From could have named them 1/4 a chord or not named them that way at all. Someone did say that the Nightmare one is actually fake or something like that. I don't know the lore, honestly. I just wanted to Streisand effect myself into being known as the guy that can't count to 4. Wait, if I acknowledge the Streisand effect before it happens, does that make it more or less likely? This is getting too meta. Let's just move on. Murgo is honestly uneventful. Nothing good or bad happened, just hit her once or twice and backed off. Easy boss is easy. That's most of the base game done, so I figured I would round it out before going to the DLC. First up is the Upper Cathedral. I was worried the Celestial Emissary fight would be problematic considering their resistance to blunt damage and the fact that there are a lot of them. It was not. In fact, it was by far the easiest fight in the whole game. Don't worry, I promise the opposite end of the difficulty spectrum does show up later. On my way to pick up the Cosmic Eyewatcher badge, I got to experience what it's like to have a Brainsucker in the front and a pack of wolves at the back. Next up is Ebrietis, who had the potential to be a huge pain in the ass with all those tentacles, but with a headshot, yeah, not so much. She actually went for another head slam right after this, letting me break her skull, then get another follow-up which put her below the phase change threshold for another follow-up. Unfortunately, my pellet and paper fell off before I could do that, otherwise she probably would have died right here. But just a handful of seconds later, she goes for another slam, and that's the Daughter of the Cosmos laid to rest. Since I had already bought like 200 blood vials, I figured I might as well start pumping strength again. I mean, what else are the echoes going to be used on? Alright, Grandpa, I'm back and ready for a fight. Phase 1 is pretty simple. I even play dangerously, but it's a lot of get one hit, then dodge and repeat. When it's time to smash him from the back, I did a ludicrous amount of damage, roughly half a health bar between the 2 hits. I tried to quickly finish him off, but unfortunately he still has some fight left in him. At this point, I just waited for him to do pretty much anything and that was it. Base game, minus the final boss, finished. Time for the DLC. Now I'll admit, going into this, I was worried. As I should be. On the 3rd attempt, however, something unexpected happened. Basically through a combination of insanely good RNG for what Ludwig could do and the ludicrous damage of the charge attacks that I can do, especially at max beasthood, I had perhaps the fastest Ludwig fight I've ever done. I managed to break his limb, allowing for several follow-ups, then he charged into a wall. I did miss the follow-up jump attack, but he went for a stomp and I landed a headshot and then dodged his swipe, letting me hit him again for a stagger which allowed a charge R2 to send him firmly into phase 2. But then my first hit caused him to mini stagger and the second to fully stagger. I went for another charged R2 and I'm not sure if I landed a direct hit or not, but it doesn't matter as he decided to do the overhead sword charge. As soon as I realized it was the overhead one and not the ground AoE one, I started swinging at his hips and had more than enough time and damage to bring him down. Not gonna lie, I was riding this high thinking the DLC would be easy as Ludwig is usually my biggest roadblock. I was wrong, but more on that later. I make sure to grab Lawrence's skull on my way to the research hall, which, by the way, wasn't so fun this time. I struggled real hard to get through this area in this run. Like, really hard, like died a handful of times in the first room kind of struggle. Then, when I finally did make it through, I got gunned down for the first time, probably ever, so that's nice. Hey, you want to see me speedrun this boss? Wow, we got them Dark Souls 2 hitboxes up in here, huh? The living failures actually aren't all that hard. It's basically the same BL4 strat where you have to kill one of them, but then are able to deathloop the one that respawns. I wasn't able to keep it up the whole time, but that's another boss down. Time for Lady Maria, the second hardest boss in this run. Honestly, it's not so much that she herself is difficult, she is still susceptible to the walk to the right strat, but having little health combined with getting some hyper armor meant I couldn't just swing for the fences. I choked several times in this fight. My favorite of which is when she decided to embrace me in my final moments while she was one hit away from death. Best girl Maria. But really the strat was actually just walk or dodge behind her, get a follow-up swing, and hope that it happens frequently enough to build up a decent amount of beasthood to quickly burst through phase 2 or 3 if you're lucky. I know I only talked about it for a minute, but this was about 25 minutes worth of attempts. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, the respawn lantern is literally outside of her boss fog. Welp, out of the frying pan and into the oven, from the second hardest boss to the absolute hardest, Orphan of Kos. Where do I even start? I know! By showing I'm so stupid I sent the elevator up but didn't unlock the door. This took an hour and a half worth of attempts. Again, doesn't sound like a whole lot. But my recording was 7 hours and 20 minutes total. Orphan was about 20% of my total runtime. I guess that is a slight exaggeration. I did spend about 10 minutes farming gems from the winter lanterns, but still. Speaking of those gems, I just want to say that one of them in particular gave me a 2.9% increase in stamina cost, which sounds mostly harmless. Just remember that, okay? So let's talk actual strat. Obviously, the best thing he can do in phase 1 is to try and leap over me. The Kirk Hammer has extremely short range, but it is still possible to land the charge attack to get a backstab. But then there is an issue. If I did the swing follow-up, it would do crazy big damage, but he wouldn't get sent flying. And if he decided to react with certain attacks, it was literally just instant death. So it became a gamble for danger. Early on in the fight with low beasthood, some of the attacks were survivable, so it was actually worth it, but as the fight went on, it just wasn't. Additionally, it only takes 2 light attacks to stagger him, which sounds like I should dodge in and go for both, then dodge away, which can work, but sometimes Orphan would either do a follow-up that also lets him dodge the attack, ending in either him not staggering or my death, or he would just do an attack that let him hyper armor through it, which would also result in my death. Now, see, what I wish I had done was rewatch Press Continue's version of this fight at BL11 where he could only use the charge attack. I did that while writing the script and learned I could have just went and got the best stamina runes to let myself have enough time to dodge away, but hey, I got through it. Shout out to him, by the way. I do some silly runs on this channel, but he goes hard with the challenges. In Phase 2, you'll see me go for a Visceral after the transition backstab. Yeah, originally I decided no Viscerals, but after an hour and a half of this bullshit, I just kind of said fuck it. That, and if I did the follow-up, he would literally just do the same as in Phase 1 where he staggers and faces me, and yeah, I don't want Phase 2 Orphan point blank without stamina. That's just asking to be murdered. I was of course looking for the triple slam attack, as that would probably be enough to finish him, or at the very least put him in a one-shot follow-up range, and eventually he did it. Thank the great ones that is over. With the benefit of hindsight, I know the hardest is behind me, but in the moment, I was absolutely terrified of Lawrence. So how'd my first attempt go? Exactly as expected. There honestly isn't a lot to say about this one. In Phase 1, it's literally just a race to break his limbs while building beasthood, because without it, the damage is abysmal even with all the strength I have. Phase 2 just had the usual dangers, and before I knew it, the DLC was behind me. Time for Gehrman. If only it was that easy. Before I explain him though, let me show you something. So you might be wondering why I would be so stupid and greedy, and yeah, but this time I actually had a reason. For the whole run, I had just enough stamina for 4 light attacks in a row. Remember that 2.9% stamina increase, Jim? Yeah. Well, that's what I thought in the moment. After reviewing my footage, I can see that my stamina just actually wasn't full, but that is why I stood near him and continued trying to attack, only to realize too late that I couldn't, so yeah, that's great. I did learn that he can be backstabbed after he buffs, similar to Orphan. Takes some good timing, but hey. Eventually, I get Gehrman to extremely low health before he does the Moon Blast, so all I have to do is wait, and that sealed his fate. Moon Presence comes down and promptly tells me to uninstall the game. That's cool, I'm more a Soul Absence kind of guy, but anyway. All I'm really looking to do is lower her health enough to do the 1 HP drain attack because, you know, she sits there doing nothing, and I don't know if you've noticed, but if something doesn't get out of the way of my attack fast enough, it's kinda game over. To quote a great one-liner, that's rough, buddy.